Right now, as you're watching this, there's a good chance your dog is carrying a small, tangled knot behind one of those soft, floppy ears, and if your first instinct is to reach for the scissors in your kitchen drawer, I need you to stop, because what I'm about to show you could be the difference between a 5-minute fix and an emergency vet visit that ends with stitches, staples, and a dog who flinches every time you touch their head. The ear is not like the rest of your dog's body. That thin flap we lovingly scratch and rub, groomers call it the ear leather, is one of the most delicate, blood-rich, and unforgiving areas on the entire canine body. The skin there is paper thin, sometimes only a few millimeters thick, stretched over a fragile sheet of cartilage and fed by a dense network of blood vessels that sit shockingly close to the surface. And here's the part most loving. Well-meaning dog owners never realize until it's too late. When a mat forms on the ear, it doesn't just sit on top of the fur like a burr on a jacket. It tightens. It pulls. It fuses itself to the skin underneath, drawing that fragile tissue up into the knot itself, so that the mat and the skin become almost impossible to tell apart by feel alone. Your fingers cannot reliably find where the tangle ends and your dog begins. That's why the ear leather is considered the single most dangerous DIY dematting zone in all of home grooming. More than the tail, more than the sanitary area, more than the armpits. Holistic veterinarians like Dr. Karen Becker have long taught us that true care for our animals begins with understanding their bodies the way nature designed them, not the way we assume them to be. And nowhere is that wisdom more urgent than here, at this small flap of skin and cartilage that hears your voice, reads your moods, and trusts your hands completely. Think about that trust for a moment. Your dog will lie still while you work near their face. They will let you hold their ear, tug at their fur, bring cold metal within an inch of their skin, not because they understand what you're doing, but because they believe, with their whole heart, that you would never hurt them. And yet every single week, groomers and veterinarians across the country see the same devastating injury walk through their doors. An ear sliced open by a loving owner who was only trying to help, who pulled a mat just a little too hard, or slid a pair of scissors under a tangle they couldn't fully see. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how these injuries happen, including a hidden danger inside the ear itself that most owners have never even heard of, one that can balloon up overnight and permanently change the shape of your dog's ear. Because once you understand what's really at stake, you'll never look at an ear mat the same way again. So let's talk about that hidden danger, because this is where a simple grooming mistake turns into something that can haunt your dog for the rest of their life. Inside that thin ear flap, sandwiched between two layers of delicate skin, run those tiny blood vessels I mentioned, and when an owner grabs a mat and pulls, or works a comb too aggressively through a tangle that's welded to the skin, those vessels can rupture without ever breaking the surface. No blood, no visible wound, nothing to warn you that anything went wrong. Your dog might yelp once, shake their head, and seem perfectly fine. But underneath, blood is quietly pooling between the skin and the cartilage. And by the next morning, that soft, graceful ear has swollen into a thick, hot, fluid-filled pillow. This is an aural hematoma, and if you've never seen one, count yourself lucky, because it is one of the most heartbreaking preventable injuries in dog ownership. The ear balloons up like a water balloon. It's painful, it's heavy, and the constant discomfort drives dogs to shake their heads violently, which only makes the bleeding worse. Treatment often means needle drainage that frequently fails, or surgery with sutures placed through the ear itself, and even with the best veterinary care, many of these ears never look the same again. The cartilage scars and contracts as it heals, crumpling into what's known as cauliflower ear, a permanent, wrinkled deformity your dog carries forever as a souvenir of one rushed grooming session. And the hematoma is only half the story. The other half is faster, bloodier, and even more common, the scissor accident. Here's the trap, and I want you to picture it clearly. You see a mat on your dog's ear. You gently slide the bottom blade of your scissors between the mat and what you believe is the skin. But remember what we said. Matted fur on the ear leather pulls the skin up into the knot. You cannot feel the difference. So you close the scissors, and instead of cutting fur, you slice through living tissue. Ear wounds bleed dramatically, far more than the same cut anywhere else on the body, and every headshake sprays it further while making the tear worse. Groomers have a saying, the ear you cut in 1 second takes months to heal, if it heals at all. Some tears go right through the leather, leaving a permanent notch. This is exactly the kind of suffering that thoughtful voices in animal wellness, like Dr. Karen Becker, have spent their careers urging us to prevent rather than treat. Because prevention costs nothing but patience, while treatment costs your dog pain, fear, and sometimes a piece of themselves. And here's the question I know is forming in your mind right now. If pulling can cause a hematoma, and scissors can tear the ear open, then how are you supposed to remove that mat at all? That answer, the one safe method that exists, is exactly where we're going next. Here it is, the one method that groomers and veterinarians trust on the ear leather, and the only one I want you using at home. Clippers, never scissors. The difference between the two tools is the difference between safety and disaster. A scissor blade slices whatever sits between its edges, skin included, and it depends entirely on your ability to see and feel what you're bay, an ability the ear mat takes away from you. A clipper, on the other hand, is designed to glide flat along the surface of the skin, its blade guarded so it shaves the mat off from the top rather than cutting blindly underneath it. When you hold the ear leather flat and fully supported against your palm, so you can feel exactly where the skin is at every moment, and let the clipper do the slow, patient work of peeling that mat away layer by layer, the skin stays safe beneath the blade instead of trapped inside a closing pair of scissors. Work in short, gentle passes, always in good light, always with the ear supported, never stretching or pulling the flap, and stop the moment your dog tenses, because a calm dog and furs, a supported ear, are your two non-negotiables. Yes, your dog may end up with a shaved patch on that ear, and I know some owners hesitate over how it looks. But hair grows back in weeks. A torn ear or a cauliflower deformity lasts a lifetime, and your dog has never once looked in a mirror and worried about a haircut. And now the honest truth that a real friend owes you, some mats are simply not a home job. If the mat sits at the very edge of the ear where the leather is thinnest, if it's tight against the skin with no room for a blade, if your dog is anxious, squirmy, or has been hurt before, or if you feel even a flicker of doubt in your own hands, put the tools down and call a professional groomer or your veterinarian. That is not failure. That is love expressed as wisdom. Dr. Karen Becker often reminds us that being a true guardian to our animals means knowing the limits of our own knowledge and choosing their well-being over our pride. And nothing embodies that principle better than handing a dangerous ear mat to trained hands. The deepest lesson here reaches beyond one tangle on one ear. Our dogs give us their bodies in total trust, and every grooming session is a promise renewed. A promise that our hands will only ever bring comfort, never harm. Prevent the mats with regular brushing behind and beneath the ears. Catch the small knots before they become welded ones. Choose clippers over scissors every single time, and know when to step aside for a professional. Do that, and this injury will never touch your dog. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.